Okay, so now we are on to chapter 6, and in chapter 6, never mind the title here, but this is chapter 6. In chapter 6, what we are doing is a user profile, is an updatable user profile that we're going to have on our web app, right? And then as part of the HTML, we have a div with the class of container. Inside of it, we have this encompassing div here, which contains another div inside of it, which this div here is going to be our card body, the body of our card. The title of the card is the name. In this case, I gave the name Greg Lim as an example, and then we have a paragraph here, and then this is just going to be the text that represents the bio of the profile, and then we have a button here which gives you the option to edit, right? And then in the button, that's where we include our HTMX attributes. We're going to have hx get, which is going to send a get request to our server. And then we have here the root, which is /user, and then we have /1, which this is going to be the identifier for this particular card, right? Each card here, we only have one card, but each card would have its own ID. And then we have /edit, right? And then in terms of the card as a whole, we have more HTMX attributes. We have hx target, which means that any changes we make will affect this div, basically the whole card. And then we have hx swap, which is outer HTML, which means it won't change what's inside, it will change the element itself. And then when we go to our server.js, firstly you'll notice that we have a handler for our get request, but we also have a handler for put request. So the get request deals with the information that we are sending, so everything that's in our HTML in the card to begin with, that's the data that we'll be sending to the server. And then our put request will be handling the updates, right? So as you can see here, we have the endpoint here, which is /user, and then this is just a placeholder for the ID that we have, and then /edit. We send in a request and a response as parameters, and then the response that we send back will be another form, right, which will have the HTMX attribute of put, which means that we are updating, and then we have /user /1, basically the identifier to identify which element which card we are going to be updating. And then hx target this, that just makes it such that we can change it again, basically maintaining what we already had before. And then we have the name here, and the name will have a value of Greg Lim, whatever we had already, right? And yeah, the rest is just the same as what we had to begin with, except in our response we are sending a get request, which will be sending data back to our index.html. And then with the put handler here, we are updating the information that we have in the card. As you can see, we have the identifier again, we have request and response as parameters. We create a variable called name and another one called bio, which gets the name and the bio, right? If you go to our index.html, as you can see, oh sorry, it's the wrong one. As you can see, when we get to our HTML, oh sorry, actually not this one, the one that we sent here, that's where we have our name, right? You see here we have ID name, and name is name, and then here we have bio. So those are the two HTML values that are going to be affected by these variables here. And then we send a response to this, which, because we are affecting the outer HTML, we're going to send HTML tags. We are first going to have a div that we're sending back, basically to maintain the card, and then it's the same thing that we had in the first place. And then we're going to have another div, right, which will now update the name to whatever name we pass in as a variable. So when we click that click to edit button, whatever changes we add to name, because it's going to be an input box this time, whatever changes we add to name is going to be what's going to be displayed here as a response. And then the bio, same thing, whatever we add in that bio input box that we have here, that's going to be whatever bio, whatever text is going to be displayed when we get a response, right? And then it just looks the same as before, except for the changes that we've made. So what that looks like, let me just run the server. So what that's going to look like in our browser, let me just refresh. As you can see here, this is the card that we have initially on our index.html, and then when I press click to edit, that's when a get request is sent, and then this is the handler that's going to be handling that get request. I click to edit, and then we get this HTML that we have here. This is what it looks like on the browser, and then we have these input boxes. Text areas, read, it's an input box and a text area, and then I can change it. Maybe I'll change this from Greg Lim to Greg Lima, and then let me just remove this part here. So what that does is these variables here, remember now we are updating, that's the request we're going to be sending back to our index.html. Since we are updating, these variables are storing these values that we now have, and then when I click changes, it's going to send a request to the index.html. It's going to update it. Now it says Greg Lima and follower of Christ. As you can see, this is what we have here. So that's all for chapter 6. Are there any questions from you guys?
Nah, it looks good.
Okay, thank you.